الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا وإمامنا وقائدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم ربنا زدنا علما نافعا وعملا صالحا. اللهم ربنا زدنا علما نافعا وعملا صالحا. اللهم ربنا زدنا علما نافعا وعملا صالحا. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. اللهم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Okay, before I start, I would like everyone to have a pen and a notebook, not a piece of paper, a notebook. Okay, because I'm going to go in quite detail regarding the realm of intentions. And even if you have read it in books, I don't think you'll be clear when it comes to intentions. Even if you read articles, I don't think you still are clear regarding intentions. Okay, so I'm going to go in very detail, and when I want to speak in a very comprehensive, in different angles, so that inshallah after today's, I will not call it a lecture, I'll call it dars rather than a lecture. I'll call this a class rather than a lecture, because I'm going to go in quite detail regarding intentions, the arena of intentions or the realm of intentions. Okay, so I want everyone to have a pen and a notebook and write everything I'm saying, and afterwards I will take, inshallah, 20 minutes Q&A, your questions, by which inshallah, hopefully after this class you will not have confused questions anymore, and you will not be confused regarding intentions, inshallah ta'ala. That is my hope. And the way I will cover it, inshallah, hopefully nothing will be left. Okay. And sadly, it is not covered in lectures the way it ought to be covered in a very comprehensive manner. Okay, an aspect or an angle is covered, and then people leave out other angles or other aspects, and that's why people get confused. Okay, so if everyone can please have a pen and a notebook. Okay, and I'll come back in 1 minute, so that by then, inshallah, you all have a pen and notebook. I especially want pen and notebook, not laptop. I don't want you to type on the laptops or iPads. Pen and notebook, because then it will sink within your hearts and minds. After you've written everything down, you can type it up on your laptops, you can type it up on your iPads, with drawings and so forth, no problem. And you can even, inshallah, you can make appointments with me and then show them to me, see if you've understood it the way we Muslims are meant to understand the realm of intentions. Okay. طيب. Firstly, I want you to take out all the understandings you have of intentions in your heart, in your mind. Take them out. Okay? Take them out. Because if I was to ask you a few questions, you'll be stuck in terms of answering. Yeah. So what I'll say is take the whatever understandings you have of intentions and right, just take them out, forget them for now, right? And just take whatever I say as if this is the first time you're listening or you're hearing about intentions. Okay. Are you ready? طيب. When we look at people's external actions, outer actions, yeah, we look at them in a couple of angles. Okay, I want you to write what I'm saying. When we look at people's external or outer actions, we look at them at a couple of angles. Okay. Number one, we ask the question, what is he or she doing? That's one angle we look at. What he or she is actually doing. Okay. So we look at the outer action, right? And we try to define and identify what he or she is actually doing. Okay. So I'll give an example. We'll just say, okay, is she or is he walking? Is he or she jogging? Is he or she running? So we try to affirm the actual outer external action. We're asking the question, what is he or she doing? What is the benefit of coming from this angle? And what are we humans looking for if you come from this angle of affirming the external outer action? What are we looking for? What we're looking for is identifying what he is or she is doing exactly and excluding what he or she is not doing. And excluding what he or she is not doing. Okay? So for example, when we say he or she is running, what does that mean is he or she is not walking. Yeah, or he or she is not sitting down. Yeah, or he or she is not sleeping. Okay, so we are affirming an action, outer action, and we are by default negating many other actions, right, that he or she is not doing. Clear? That's number one. Please do not message me on the chat or Q&A for now. I will take that later on, okay? So do not message me on the chat or on the Q&A section. طيب. So this is simply affirming what is that person doing. The benefit of that is you're excluding what he or she is not doing. That's what you're trying to get at from knowing, right, the outer action. This, in Arabic, is called qasd. Qaf Swad Dal. qasd. And knowing this, it becomes important in a couple of situations. Number one, when two levels of the intention are different, but the outer action is exactly the same. Start one more time. When the levels of the inner intention are different, but the outer action is exactly the same. I'll give you an example. I am giving 125 pounds. Okay. Now, is this zakat or is it sadaqah? Outer action is exactly the same. There's no difference. Is this zakat? Is it sadaqah? What makes the difference is what I have inside of qasd, what I am intending. What I am intending. Write the example down. Zakat and sadaqah, the outer action is exactly the same. But what I am intending in terms of the levels distinguishes the outer action. Give another example. Salah, Dhuhr and Asr. 4 rakah, 4 rakah. What distinguishes it is the inner intention. Give another example. 4 rakah Dhuhr Salah, obligatory. 4 rakah Dhuhr Salah, sunnah. Exactly the same, no difference. In terms of outwardly there's no difference. What makes the distinction between 4 rakah sunnah dhuhr and 4 rakah dhuhr obligatory salah is the intention and the level which are differing. One is obligatory, one is voluntary. So this is called qasd. Qaf, swad, dal. Okay, what's the benefit of knowing qasd? What is the benefit? The benefit is you know which action you is affirming. The other person, when they ask you that question, they also know which action you are affirming, which action you are doing. Are you giving zakat or are you giving sadaqah? Are you praying dhuhr or are you praying asr? Are you praying nafal or are you praying obligatory? You yourself know, and the person who's asking that question wants to know, they can also know by you answering it. Okay? In everyday life, it can also happen. For example, you are buying shopping for yourself, and you're also buying shopping for your parents, for example. So they live in a separate house, you live in a separate house, or your brothers and sisters, right? Siblings. and you're buying 2 or 3 things, same things, 2 milk or 4 milk, 4 biscuits or 5 biscuits, same brand, same company. So the till person asks, you're buying the same things for yourself? You go, no. One is for me, one is for my mom, one is for my dad, or one is for my sister, one is for my brother's house. Yeah? So same action, the intention is making it different. Okay? And it can go a bit more deeper. So it can be, for example, you could be a friend, you're buying it for a friend. So when you buy from a friend, obviously you're not responsible over your friend. You're responsible over your parents, maybe your siblings, but you're not responsible over your friend. But you're buying it for a friend. You're doing it out of what? A gift, rather than because you are responsible over your friend to buy shopping, groceries, and so forth. So this is called qasd, that distinguishes between action, another action, and similar action or same action. So that one more time. It distinguishes between action and another action. So eating and walking, or sleeping and running, there are 2 different actions. So it distinguishes between action and another action, outer action, obviously. And also, it distinguishes between exact same outer action. Exact same outer action. It distinguishes between these 2. This is all called, or this is all within the realm, which is called qasd. Qaf, swad, dal. Okay. I hope everyone's clear on that before I move on to the next, intention. Okay. Next, intention, which is called genuinity. You're genuine. Okay. Now, a lot of people get confused between genuinity and sincerity. So that's why I'm mentioning this issue here. Genuinity. What does genuinity affirm? It simply affirms whatever action you are claiming that you are doing, that claim is genuine. It's true. It can be bad action, it could be good action. Doesn't matter. But whatever claim you're making of the intention you have of this action is genuine. I'll give you an example. One asks you, why are you running? Your answer is for exercise. This necessarily will not, by default, will not be included in sincerity, but it is by default included in genuinity. You're genuine. So when you said, I am jogging or I'm running for exercise, and that's true, you're being genuine. Okay? Someone else, you see him running, and afterwards you ask, why are you running? He goes, there's an emergency, right? And that's why I'm running, to get there for the emergency. So here, you find that, yes, there was an emergency in his house and he was running back, right? So here, his claim is genuine. So this is called genuinity. Okay? Now, the next one is called amd. Amd. Amd means intentional. He or she did this intentionally. And this is usually looked at in the category of doing something bad, a crime. So when someone does something bad, we look at, okay, maybe he made a mistake, or maybe he or she was forced, or maybe he or didn't know. Why are we trying to negate from here? We're trying to negate his intentionality. Did he intend this crime? Did he intend this bad act? This is called amd. I mean that. Okay. And last one, the most important one, is ikhlas, al-ikhlas, sincerity. Al-ikhlas, sincerity. Now, insincerity, people come from two different angles when they talk about sincerity. We human beings, when we talk about sincerity, we look at two different angles. Number one, we connect sincerity to good deeds. That's number one, or good actions. We don't connect sincerity to bad actions or evil actions. And number two, we connect sincerity to good intention, upright intention. We do not connect sincerity to genuinity, nor qasd, for the first one. I hope it's clear. So I say that one more time. We human beings look at sincerity at two different angles. We look at it from the angle of good actions. We connect sincerity to good actions. When someone does consistently good actions, constantly, regularly, we say he or she is sincere. And number two, we look at sincerity, the intention in itself, is it a good intention or not? So we look at, if it's good intention, this is sincere. It goes beyond genuinity. It goes beyond distinguishing being act from an act. Okay. I hope so far you're clear in all of those four matters that I just spoke about. Now, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word niyyah, or the Messenger uses the word niyyah, intention, which ones is he referring to? Is he referring to all of those four? Right? First one is qasd, right? Second one is genuinity. Third one is amd. Fourth one is ikhlas. Which one is he referring to? Okay, that's the question. The answer is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he talks about niyyah and niyyahs, he's talking about the qasd, the first one. He's talking about the genuinity one. He's talking about amd one, more than ikhlas. But they all four of them come within the word niyyah. They all come into the word niyyah. So إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى. That famous hadith in Sahih Bukhari, right? Niyat is plural, intentions, all actions, i.e. outer action, external action, are centered around and dependent upon intentions. وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى. And whatever the individual intends, this is what they receive. This is what is affirmed, considered. Yeah? And then the example is given. So generally, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word intention, it is more the first three and not ikhlas. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses ikhlas, the word actually ikhlas and mukhlis is affirming the fourth one, sincerity. Okay? Okay. Now let's look at ikhlas. Let's look at ikhlas. Ikhlas, a Muslim by default is a mukhlis, is sincere. A Muslim by default is sincere. Okay, I'm going to break this down. I want you to write them down. A Muslim by default is sincere. Why? Because for a Muslim, in the sight of Allah, he had to negate so many temptations, so many doubts that's out there for him then to consciously, proactively embrace Islam and be a Muslim. So there had to be within him a level of good intention for him or her to be a Muslim. So a Muslim, by the sheer nature of being Muslim, they are sincere. They are sincere. Meaning that when they do good deeds, good actions, they have a good intention already. When they do good actions, good deeds, they have a good intention already. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the grand principles He gave to us is that we can make all of our actions, all of our external outer actions within sincerity by simply affirming and settling one grand reality. So that one more time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, He has given us a legislation that we Muslims, we can make all outer external actions, all of them. And one condition that is not sins, obviously. It's not known sins, excluding them, excluding the sins. All the other actions, our walking, our talking, our running, our jogging, our eating, our sleeping, all of them, even our relationship with our spouses, all of that can be within sincerity. What is that legislation? I want you to write this down. The legislation is al-imtithal. 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 What is al-imtithal? It is doing any actions because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated for you to do so, and leaving any actions because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated for you to do so. So that one more time. Al-imtithal is doing actions because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated them for you to do so. And not doing actions, out actions, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated for you not to do them. Now, if you simply settle that in your heart that I am going to, in my lifetime, doesn't matter how long I live, I am going to be within the boundary of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's legislation of actions. But of actions He legislated for me to do, I will be doing it even if it goes against my nafs. And whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted me not to do, I will refrain, I will prevent myself from doing them, even if my nafs wants to do them, even if myself wants to do them. When you settle that in your heart, in your mind, you as a Muslim, then you will be rewarded for every action you perform upon the surface of the earth, knowingly and consciously. Every action. Even if that means smallest of action of just you relaxing, or just you sleeping, or just you eating, or just you drinking, you'll have a reward as a Muslim. Even, as we said, intimacy. And in that hadith, something very clear. If you saw, will you not get a reward? When they were shocked, like they were surprised, how are we going to get? How are we being rewarded for having a relationship with our spouses? Last time said, would you have got sin if you committed haram? regarding in relationships? The Sahaba said yes. Said yes, because you're not committing and you made that intention. I'm not gonna commit that. I'm gonna do this with my husband, with my wife. Halal. The intention is there. I am not doing this, I am doing this. Why are you doing this? Because Allah said so. Why not doing that? Because Allah said so. So here, soon as you settle this in your heart, in your mind, that boundary, and you are rewarded for every single action which is done by yourself. I hope that's clear. Let me, if you were to ask me the definition of ikhlas, if you were to say, what is the definition of ikhlas? I'm going to define it to you so simply. Inshallah, it'll be clear to you for the rest of your life. And I want you to memorize that definition. I want you to memorize it, not forget it. And that is, every legislated allowed intention is within sincerity. Every legislated allowed intention is within sincerity. Let's do that one more time. Every legislated allowed intention, no action, intention. Yeah. Every legislated allowed action. No, it's wrong. Yeah. So every legislated allowed intention is within sincerity. Clear? Remember, I said within sincerity. I didn't say what is the best sincerity, is the highest sincerity, is the loftiest sincerity. I didn't say that. I said within sincerity. It can be the minimum, but it's within it. It can be the minimum level, but it is within it. So I give example. You are buying clothes for your parents. So the cost is there. So you're not buying food, you're buying clothes. You're intentional. Yeah? You're genuine there. You're buying clothes. Your ikhlas, what's the ikhlas? You're buying clothes simply because they are your parents. Simply, not to make them happy, not to ask forgiveness from them. Simply because they are your parents, you're buying them clothes. Simple as that. That minimum level of intention, which is allowed, is legislated, it's allowed, you're making. That is within sincerity. In other words, because you're buying clothes for your mom, for your parents, you will be rewarded in dunya life and for eternity for that minimum level of sincerity that you had. You'll be rewarded for Allah in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for eternity. Okay. Now, I spoke about definition of sincerity. Now let me speak about how can you make sincerity lofty. Where does it start from? So you can put the question, where does loftiness of sincerity start from? It starts from as soon as the moment death comes to you. From there, all the way to Barzakh life, the Qiyamah life, Jannah life, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of that journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sincerity, the loftiest, starts from the moment you are dying. Now, so everyone, all of us will obviously die. In 100 years' time, none of us most likely will be alive, right? So what is the intention now I can make behind good deeds that will make my good deeds lofty? It is to intend anything beyond your death and beyond that. You intend anything from the moment of your death, anything beyond that. It will make your deeds lofty. I'll give you an example. So you wake up for Fajr Salah on time. What is your objective behind waking up for Fajr Salah on time and praying on time? For men, praying in the masjid. So if you intend that I want to die in Salah, or I want to die a general good death. So either I want to die in Salah, or I want to die a general good death. Now you made sincerity lofty. Or you intend that in the Barzakh, I want to answer the questions in a very easy, smooth manner. That's why I wake up for Fajr on time and go to the masjid. Pray in the front lines. Okay? Or on the Qiyamah day, I want to stand beneath the Arsh. Yeah? The more you make those intentions from beginning of the moment of you dying all the way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, you intend that I want to attain the greatest love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within my family and companions and friends. I want Allah to love me the most amongst the people that I know. With that intention, you pray your salah on time, you go to the masjid on time, you be on the first row on time, you give your zakat, you give your fast, and you can make many other good deeds with that same intention. Okay, so now you made sincerity very lofty. The more deep and detailed you go in the akhirah life of you wanting behind this outer good deed, the more the sincerity gets deeper, loftier, and weightier. Okay, if you want more information on this, read my article. It's on the Al-Arqam's website, The Goals and Purposes, Part 1, Part 2, where I break it down for you goals and purposes. When I mean about purposes, I mean anything from the moment of death and beyond. These are the purposes behind our good deeds, and they make our good deeds lofty in sincerity, deeper in sincerity, and weightier in our sincerity. Okay? Goals and purposes. Part 1 and part 2, read both of them. Okay. Now, what I'm going to say next is actually the topic I wanted to speak about. Okay? Because this part now I'm going to speak about is hardly spoken about. And that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, out of His grace, out of His love for us, right? He legislated the realm of intentions in such a way that we can attain so much without even doing the good deeds for them. So like one more time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated the realm of intentions in such a way that, obviously out of His mercy and grace, He did this, and out of love, that us human beings, without even doing the deeds, the actions, the outer actions, right? Without even doing the outer good deeds, we can receive the reward of those deeds, outer deeds. We can receive the rewards of all of those outer deeds simply by making the intentions. Okay? So from that angle, there is 4 levels. I want to write them down. There's 4 levels. Number 1, needs. Number 2, wants. Number 2, wants. Number 3, yearnings. And number 4, wishes. All of these, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses one word to describe all of these 4 levels. He uses the word irada or yurid or turid in the Quran. Same with the Sunnah. Irada or yurid or turid. Yeah? So that's needs, wants, yearnings, and wishes. So, give example. In the Akhirah, what do we all need in the coming life? What do we all need? What we all need is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness and mercy. Forgiveness of our sins, major sins, consistent sins, major sins that we have not maybe repented with, or we have not regretted the way we ought to regret, and showing us mercy for our shortcomings in our obligatory deeds. Maybe we slacked in the time, maybe we delayed it, maybe we did not calculate it properly, and so forth. Okay, so we need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness and mercy. This is need. Okay, in our day-to-day life, for example, we need food, we need water, we need company, we need love, we need attention, we need affection, we need appreciation. Yeah, we need shelter. These are needs. And intending them is fine. It's within, again, us, and it can be within the minimum level of sincerity. These are needs. So, do you prioritize your wants before your needs in dunya life? Of course not. We don't prioritize our prosperous living over our survival. We prioritize our survival first over our prosperous living, right? You don't go and buy a fancy clothes, 1K or something like that, when you are starving, when you need food, or when you need a place of shelter. Yeah. Similarly, when we make the intentions for the coming life, prioritize the needs first. And that's how you find the Messenger ﷺ in the Quran talks about needs intentions first, not your wants. So it talks about forgiveness of sins. Forgiveness of sins. Because they are your needs. If you don't attain forgiveness, subhanallah, and a'udhu billah, the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be on you. So what do we need? Ultimately, as a Muslim, what do we need for the coming life? Ultimately, we don't want to be in Jahannam. Simple as that. Simple as that as a Muslim, as you and me. We don't want to be in Jahannam. And work your way backwards. That's the ultimate need. I don't want to go through Jahannam. Ya Allah, protect me from Jahannam. I'm praying my salah, protecting myself from Jahannam. I'm giving zakat, protecting myself from Jahannam. I'm giving sadaqat, protecting myself from Jahannam. I'm forgiving people in order to protect myself from Jahannam. And then work your way backwards. Punishment of the grave. Work your way backwards. Punishment in dunya. Soon as you start doing that regularly, consistently, constantly, you will make the coming life reality, because they are reality of your intentions. It's you, your soul, your heart, your mind, processing it, settling it, making those intentions behind your good deeds, behind your every single day good deeds, behind your weekly good deeds, behind your monthly good deeds, behind your yearly good deeds, behind your lifetime good deeds. Work on your needs. If I ask you, can you sort of say, I've worked on my needs of not being in Jahannam, protecting myself from Jahannam, protecting myself from the grave punishment, protecting myself from the dunya punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding major sins. I protected myself. Can you sort of guarantee, if you were not intentional, then how can you guarantee? And if you were intentional, day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, if you cannot guarantee, but you can see the signs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not making you commit sins. He's facilitating for you to good deeds. He's facilitating for you to do so much good deeds, so much mubarak deeds. He's facilitating for you to make people happy, empower people. He's facilitating to you in dreams by saying Jannah. Right? All of these are signs that Inshallah, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy and grace, you are protected from his wrath in dunya, and most importantly, you are protected from his wrath in the coming life. Okay, so work on your needs. Second, work on your wants. Your wants. What do you want? So after you're protected from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wrath in dunya life and the coming life, now what do you want? Work on that. With your good deeds, work on it. What do you want? So now I want to be from the people who are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes them as muttaqun or mu'minun. I want to be amongst them. Or salihun, righteous. I want to be amongst them. These are your wants. So behind your good deeds, intend your wants. Again, the wants can be, I want to die in sujood, or I want to die, right, whilst I'm fasting, or I want to die whilst I'm doing tawaf, or I want to die in Mecca, or I want to die in Medina, or I want to die in the masjid, reciting the Quran. These are your wants. These are beyond your needs. In the coming life, you can intend your wants. For example, you want to be on the right side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's throne, sitting upon thrones. Who will be those? Those who establish justice upon the surface of the earth amongst the parents, amongst the siblings, amongst the brothers and sisters, amongst the uncles and aunties, amongst the relatives, amongst the society. They are known for establishing justice. These are your wants. In Jannah, you want to be called by, for example, the fasting gate of Jannah. So every one of us will have minimum 2 Jannah. So there's no, people say there's 8 Jannah. Don't get confused. There's billions and trillions and trillions and trillions of Jannah. Trillions. Each one of us will have 2 Jannah, inshallah ta'ala. Right? But the leaders of Jannah, right, will be 8. And everyone who will have 2, they can go into through these 8 gates if they perform the deeds of these 8 gates. They'll be allowed to enter, stay there. They'll be the best of Jannah. So on top of the 2 Jannah they'll receive, they will also be owners of these 8 Jannah. As Rasulullah said about Abu Bakr, it will, all the 8 Jannah will call him. So he'll have minimum 2 Jannah of his, which he owns, and then these 8 greatest of Jannah, all of them will call him, and he will enter through all of them, and he will reside therein as long as he wishes. And there will be his, within there will be, obviously it's unimaginable, we can't imagine how humongous this Jannah will be. Within it, there will be a humongous, right, world for him in those Jannah, which is specific, will be owned by him. So you intend that you want to be amongst, you want to be amongst the Jannah of Salah, because you are performing tahajjud, you are performing extra voluntary deeds. Or you want to be amongst the people who fast, the Jannah of fasting. So you perform fasting regularly, Mondays and Thursdays, every 3 days of the month. Remember, these greatest Jannah are there for you to intend and then do the deed, and then they do the deeds for them. Okay, so this is the wants. Then you have yearnings. Now, what's the difference between the needs and the wants and the yearnings and the wishing? The fine difference between the needs and the wants and the next level, which is yearning, and the next level, which is wishing. The needs and the wants are within your abilities and capabilities. The needs and the wants are within your abilities and capabilities. The yearnings and the wishing, they are outside your abilities and capabilities in the short run or in the long run. So one more time. Needs and wants, they are within your abilities and capabilities. Yearning and wishing, they are outside your abilities and capabilities in the short run. I immediately don't have the ability and capability, or even in the long run. It's outside. It's outside the ability and capability in terms of doing the action outwardly. So let's look at yearning. For example, the Sahaba, the poor Sahaba, what did they yearn? What did they yearn? They yearned to donate like the rich Sahaba. They yearned for it. Now, they don't have the money in the short run. But they said, I wish I was like so-and-so. I wish I was like so-and-so. Donating money here, donating money there, donating money there. They yearned. Now, with that yearning, with the reward in sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as long as that yearning was genuine. In other words, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was to give them that ability, they would donate in reality. Allah knows that they will get the reward as the rich person. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give. There's nothing, you know, his inherent nature, Jalla wa ala, is the giver. If he doesn't want to give, he simply withholds. But his inherent nature is to give. So the Sahaba did not have the money. They what? They yearned. They yearned. And with that yearning, they will receive the reward. Same with you. For example, you want to enter into the Jannah of fasting, but you're very weak in fasting. Like Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Sahabi, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he was very weak in fasting. But he used to yearn to be amongst the people who used to fast. He used to yearn for it. He used to say, I wish I was strong, and I wish I was, you know, able to fast like the other Sahaba who are fasting every other day. You know, because he was very thin. He was very thin. He was very weak in the sense of physical weakness, not in terms of, you know, Iman, and he was one of the greatest Sahaba. Okay, and the other Sahaba, for example, jihad, they were weak in jihad, but they yearned to be amongst the mujahideen, to be amongst the shuhada. Okay, so here, as long as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the genuinity of your intention, He will give you the reward of that action, even though you don't have the ability to do so. This is the third level. And the fourth level and the final one is wishing. Is wishing. This is where the intelligent, the sharp ones, right? The wise ones who are, you know, competing with the best of the ummah, the past generation, or the present generation, or the future generation. This is where they compete. They compete with the intentions on wishing. Okay? Even Sallallahu wished. Sallallahu wished. Right? He wished. And he even wished impossibilities. It's not impossible rationally, logically, but it's impossible in reality. The reality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the creation. It's impossible. For example, he said, in Hadith Bukhari, he said, I wish I fight for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I am what? Killed. And then Allah brings me back to life again. And then I fight for his cause, for his sake. And I'm killed again. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings back me to a life again. And I fight again. And I'm killed again. ثم أقتل. I'm killed again. So here, the Messenger of Islam, he wished something that will never happen. That will never happen. Even the first one didn't happen. He was not killed in the battlefield. The first wishing that could have happened did not happen. But because he wished, there was a wish there. It was a genuine wish there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obviously will reward him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will obviously reward him. And that is where the righteous of the past used to compete with the best. There is to wish. There is to wish. There is no ceding to intentions. There is to wish. I wish I had this amount of money. I wish I had this amount of life. I would do this. I would do that. Yeah. I wish I had this much power and authority. I wish I had this position. They would wish. And the reason behind that is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's eternal reward is kun fayakun. All he has to do is, if he wants to reward you, if it doesn't exist, all he has to say is kun fayakun, and now he exists, the reward exists. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's giving is never ending. So if you keep wishing, and Allah knows the genuinity of that wishing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give you according to your wishes in the akhirah, in the coming day. Obviously, we are far, far, far behind. We are even failing in our needs, getting the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting the eternal forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting his eternal mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting his eternal love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Getting that, we are struggling. We need to get that. We need to achieve from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala his eternal forgiveness, his eternal mercy, his eternal love, by which we don't go through his wrath in this life. And most importantly, vitally, we don't go through his love. We don't go through his wrath, right? When the death time comes to us. So, what is my advice to you all? The advice I'm giving to myself this Ramadan is, in our deeds, let's start making intentions based on our needs of this life and the coming life. What do we need from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And behind our good deeds, make these needs intention tangible. Make it real, settle them in your hearts. Then you'll see you're waking up for Fajr, you're prolonging your Salah, you're making the dua because you need it. You desperately need it. It's genuine. You're wanting this. And so your heart will be sincere in wanting. And then you'll see the deeds like the Sahaba and the Tabi'in, great Imams and leaders and great role models before us. Their deeds, outer deeds, were so much. It's because behind them there was these intentions of needs, intentions of wants, intentions of wishing, yearning and wishing. Behind them, the outer deeds, external deeds, this was behind them. That was motivating them. That was pushing them. That was constantly, regularly, consistently, relentlessly being a motivator for them to take the extra mile, to be exhausted. And that's why they achieve so much for Muslims, right? But they achieve so much at the end of the day for themselves. For themselves. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those who appreciate the legislation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us Muslims of intentions, through which we can achieve and attain eternal rewards from Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, from Akram Al-Akrameen, the most generous, the most merciful, the most loving. And eternal rewards that for eternity we will be satisfied and content, and we'll be happy and laughing and enjoying ourselves through the rewards that He bestows upon us because we intended them. Barakallahu feekum. Taqabbalallahu minna wa minkum salih al-amal. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi as-samil alim minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Salatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin nabiyyina wa imamina wa qa'idina wa qudwatana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'du. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Any questions?
We have quite a few questions. Are we only answering questions up until Maghrib starts, Shaykh?
Yes, inshallah, we'll stop when Maghrib starts.
Apologies to anyone if I can't get to your question because there's quite a few. We have one question saying, if you add a secondary intention, does that count? Does it have to be right from the start to be valid? If it's partway through the action, does it get the same reward as if it's right from the start?
Yes, I'm presuming you're speaking about sincerity, or in other words, the intention which is allowed for you to make. So as long as the intention is allowed for you to make, then alhamdulillah, it's fine. Even if an action, that's the benefit, subhanAllah, that's amazing mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if the action is almost over, right? You can change the intention. So you made the intention which is not allowed. Yeah. For example, you went to Salah, right? Just to show your in-laws to be that you're someone who prays. That you never pray. This person, for example, never prays. But they wanted to show them that they pray. And that's why they went to the masjid with the in-laws to be to pray. So this is showing off. This is riyah. That's showing us. That's not for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Now, in the last rak'ah, right, you realize this was my ultimate intention, just to show my in-laws. But in the last rak'ah, for example, you change your intention. Like now, you know what? I do tawbah, I repent from the intention I made, and I'm gonna rectify, I'm gonna intend this salah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept that repentance and will accept that changing of the intention. Yeah. And if you've done the action and it's all over, so you suppose that person finishes salah, it's all over, right? And then after a few years or a couple of years, he remembered, like, yeah, that salah I prayed, it was because of my in-laws to be. What does he do? All he does is repents and then makes the intention that's for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will take that intention which he is doing now. If it's genuine, He will take that intention and He will align it with the salah that He performed 10, 20 years ago. That's all you have to do. Simply intend it the way you'd have intended, right? The way you want the intention to be, and Allah will connect that intention with that salah or with that particular ibadah. That's it. If you can remember, generalize it. That I intend all the actions, good actions that I did, which has some riya in it, showing off in it. Wallah, I intend behind all of these intentions, attaining your love, attaining your mercy, attaining your eternal forgiveness. That's what I intend, right? Obviously, if it's genuine, Allah will place all of those actions that you've done, which was done out of showing off and so on, He will replace it with the intention that you're doing now for those deeds. Now, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is amazingly merciful and generous and kind.
Jazakumullah khairan. Another question is, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, fasting is for me and I shall give reward for it, does that mean it is incorrect to be intending to benefit one's health to be improved by it also?
No, no. All of them are fine. That's what I said, with the minimum intention, which is within minimum sincerity, and the ultimate intention. You can make many as you like. So the minimum is I'm doing this because I'm a Muslim. Yeah. Then I'm doing this because of my health. No problem. So first is because you're a Muslim, you're fasting, right? And then the other ones. And then ultimately, I'm doing this to attain the eternal mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the eternal love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Jazakumullah khair. At times we have good intentions, but over time we forget about them, or they are no longer in our heart, or we don't strive to fulfill them. How can we overcome this?
Yeah, talk to yourself, process it, and ask the questions. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why? Yeah, the ultimate level of why, that's we have to question. Ultimately, for example, the famous hadith of Niyya, Amal bin Niyat. Why was that individual condemned? Right? The one who seeks dunya and the one who seeks marriage in migration, Islamic migration. Why were they condemned as an example in the hadith? Because those intentions are allowed. Those intentions, seeking dunya and migrating is allowed. Seeking woman and migrating for the woman or the man, other way around, it's allowed. So it's within sincerity. But why was it condemned? It was condemned because you're showing its migration for Allah, i.e. you're migrating ultimately because of the deen. Yeah? That's what you're showing people. But ultimately in your heart, it's not deen. It's for the husband or for the wife, or for the sake of the trade, or for the sake of the income, or for the sake of employment, for the sake of the business. But you're showing, no, the ultimate intention is I'm doing for the deen. That's what's condemned in the hadith. Right? I.e. you can, if you made the dunya and marriage and any other dunya matters, which are allowed for you to make, if you made them secondary, it would be no problem. The primary has to be, right? The ultimate level has to be anything from you're a Muslim, and number two, from your moment of death all the way to meeting and seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, receiving rewards from Him. So ultimately, if you have the intentions from moment of death all the way to seeing and meeting Him, receiving the rewards from Him, then you'll be within sincerity. Even if you have in the secondary matters anything with dunya, no problem, inshallah.
Barakallahu feekum. We have a couple of questions with a very similar theme, so I'll mention them both, inshallah. Can we attain needs, wants, yearnings, and wishes by tilawat of Quran as our main deed? Can we reach the highest levels in ranks and status with tilawat as our main consistent deed?
As long as you have the intention. As long as you have the intention. And remember, the realm is not limited to abilities and capabilities. Just because you have the ability to recite, right? That does not mean you should limit your intention, right? There are so many things you don't have the ability in. There are so many things you don't have the capabilities in. So intend them. Get the reward. Get the reward in dunya, and then get the reward in the akhirah. Allah's there to give. So you're not fasting. You're not fasting voluntarily regularly. You're not praying regularly in terms of voluntary prayers. For example, some of the Salafis they did khatam of 1,000 khatams, 3,000 khatams of the Quran. Some of them prayed 1,000 rakat voluntary, like unbelievable numbers. Without the ability or capability. These are within our yearnings and wishing, right? Yearn, wish, make those intentions. Receive the reward in dunya, and then receive the reward, actual reward in the akhirah life. Why are we stopping ourselves and preventing ourselves from intending these things? How many of us are performing Hajj and Umrah every year, right? Who has the ability and capabilities? How many of us are performing Umrah every day? Right? It's possible for you to perform Umrah every day if you lived in Mecca, for example. It's possible. It's not something impossible. Make that intention. That Allah, genuine intention that if I was living in Mecca, I would be performing Umrah every single day. Make that intention.
Barakallahu feekum. Please, can you summarize qasd and genuinity again, please?
Qasd, it's mainly to do with identifying the outer action, what it is. So is it walking, is it sleeping? And secondly, excluding what is not. Yeah, excluding what is not. So you're in salah, right? You're affirming here salah. You're excluding what? You're excluding that you're not, right? For example, you're not eating food, sitting down and eating food. So you're excluding eating food, sitting down. Yeah, and you're affirming, yeah, you are in salah. Someone. Second, he affirms qasd, affirms the levels. Two actions, their levels. It distinguishes between two same actions, their levels. Okay, so voluntary salah and obligatory salah. 4 rakah, same thing. Outwardly, same thing. Here he distinguishes it. The intention distinguishes it. This 4 rakah is sunnah or voluntary. This 4 rakah is obligatory. Yeah. So first, it distinguishes between action and another action. And second, it distinguishes between two exact same action. That's qasd. As for genuinity, in Islam, it's called sidq. I forgot to mention the Arabic word here. It's called sidq. Sidq here refers to truthfulness or genuinity. So when you're genuine, when you say, okay, my intention was this, right? And it was genuine. So I, for example, went to the shop, bought the groceries, or bought some chocolates to make my mom happy, to make my sister happy, to make I gifted my husband to make him happy. Here, sincerity is not necessarily is included. As a normal human being can do that. They don't believe in the akhirah, they don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the kafir, they can do that. So here is called sidq, he's being truthful of his intention. Yeah. So here is called sidq, he's being genuine, or she's being genuine regarding his intention behind doing a action. Okay, it could be good or bad action. So, for example, someone he robs, and when he's asked why did he rob, he simply says, because I was hungry, or because I needed the money. Yeah, and his claim is genuine. It's not because, for example, he did this because someone, right? He's part of a gang member, for example. He's not. He's just alone. He said, "I'm alone. I did this alone. No one was part of it." So whatever is claiming, he is being genuine. He's being truthful.
Hayakumullah. If I want to make salah with khushu' and that will be my intention, and I fail to do so, will I be sinning?
Say that one more time. I didn't hear the first part.
If I want to make salah with khushu' and that will be my intention, and I fail to do so, will I be sinning?
No, of course. Of course. That intention is one of the ultimate intentions of sincerity.
How does intention affect what type of action you spend most of your time on? For example, gaining knowledge versus just concentrating on ibadah.
That it depends on the advice of your leaders and mentors and coaches, and also what is the ummah need. Anything for the kifaya, anything beyond the individual ibadah, individual farda ayn, is dependent upon what the ummah needs and the advice that the scholars and the leaders and the role models are giving you. It needs to look at from that angle.
How do you differentiate between a legislated permissible intention and non-legislated intention?
The reason I put the word legislated, because there could be two actions allowed. Yeah, two intentions allowed. But one is at that moment, particular moment, one is not allowed, and at that particular moment, one is allowed. Give example. Yeah, the famous example is Jurayj. Jurayj, when his mother called him when he's praying two rak'ah into his salah. So him intending with the two rak'ah salah, whatever he was intending was allowed. But him prolonging that and not going and listening to his mother was not, right? That was not allowed. So he was ought to leave that intention, leave that salah, that good deed, and go and listen to his mother. Okay, that's what the word legislated was mentioned. Okay, at that particular moment, is it legislated for you to make that intention or not? Is that clear? So for him to do salah, obviously it's allowed. Whatever he's intending, Jurayj of whatever he's intending is allowed. Yeah, it's allowed. It's one of the greatest deeds to perform salah, voluntary salah when you're free. You've got nothing to do, pray voluntary salah. Greatest deeds, right? But at that particular moment, when his mother called him, that was not allowed. Is that clear? So that's why the word legislated is important.
Can you explain in detail multiple intentions for one deed by need, want, yearning, wishing, and on behalf of yourself and others, or within one action at one time?
Yeah, you can make as many intentions as you like. The more consciously, proactively intention you make, for example, I am doing the shopping to make, because I'm a Muslim, Allah commands me to take care of my parents and my siblings. I am going out to do the shopping. I'm doing this also to make my parents happy, to make my siblings happy. I'm doing this also to come close to them and bond with them. I'm doing also, I buy extra stuff for them to show my love and care for them. I buy gifts for them on top of the groceries, normal shopping to make them forgive me and overlook my mistakes or my rage or my anger here and there, and sometimes my short-tempered outbursts and so on and so forth. And then akhirah intention. I'm doing this, oh Allah, so my death becomes easy. You be merciful towards me, so that I die with my family, with my loved ones present, without regret. On the grave, I'm able to answer the three questions smoothly and kindly, smoothly and comfortably, right? And the akhirah intentions you can make. So intentions can make as many as you like.
If one walks, sleeps, or eats with the intention that Allah has allowed him to do so, then will he be rewarded for this?
Yeah, we said that. So just have that, settle that grand legislation, which is, I as a Muslim will do everything Allah instructed me to do. As long as He instructed, I will do it. And I will refrain from everything that Allah instructed me to refrain from. Settle that in your heart as a Muslim. Then everything you do in your whole life, you'll be rewarded for it. Even your putting food in your wife's or husband's mouth. That's what some said.
If you are doing an action for your needs, such as to attain Allah's forgiveness, does that not contradict sincerity, as you are doing the action for something you need and not for Allah?
How did I define sincerity? Any intention which is allowed for you to make is within sincerity. That is sincerity. What is sincerity then? What is sincerity then? Okay, so sincerity is any intention. Allah allowed that intention for you to make. Allah is the one who allowed this intention for you to make. It's within sincerity. So you wanting Allah, what is that? You wanting something. You wanting Allah, you wanting something. Okay. So that's not contradictory. You're contradicting yourself by not understanding what sincerity is. You wanting Allah, that is because Allah legislated that you want Allah. Yeah, that intention is allowed. Okay. Similarly, Allah is the one who legislated that you intend, right? Anything which is allowed, you intend. He's allowed it. He's the one who allowed it, and it's within sincerity. So you intend to make someone happy. It's within sincerity.
Barakallahu feekum. I believe that's all the questions. Yeah, I can't see any that we haven't answered. Hayakum Allah, Shaykh.